chanting also. पहले वाली कौन सी थी सर? त्रिरत्न वंदना ना, ठीक है, 8 एपिसोड हो गया। वो सिर्फ पाली में करेंगे, उनको पाली में इसका फर्स्ट Chant that Vande Bhakta. Sutta in Jivnika, Vande Bhakta Sutta, which is often chanted, and it's included in the chanting book of it's a big sutta, but the chanting is this, which gives the essence of I think नानवागम्य न प्रतिक्षणेन नागतं यदितीतं कहीनं तम् अपतं च अनागतम्. You should not chase after the past or place expectation in the future. What is past is left behind, the future is as yet unreached. Pachupannam chayo dhammam tatha tatha vipassati asamhiram asamputtam tam vidva vanagrihe. Whatever phenomena is present, you see clearly right here, unvanquished, unshaken. That's how we should develop the mind. Ajivatichanatakam ojanyamaranam sure nahi no samvaratena mahasenena manchana. Doing your duty ardently today, for who knows tomorrow may be death. There is no bargaining with the death and his mighty hold. Evam viharitam attaptim ahorattam matanditam tambe bhadrikaratoti santo achikite mani. Whoever lives thus ardently, relentlessly, both day and night, has truly had an auspicious day. So says the peaceful sage. No advice for us on how to live our daily life. Whatever phenomena is present, we see clearly right here, unvanquished, unshaken. That's how we should develop. And we come to our 16th Sutta. Its background is same as of the other suttas of Buddha, creating this double. You can raise questions to him and answer in order to clear the doubts of the Devas. So the main message is similar, but merely philosophy will not lead to purity. One is to be free from all views, then only one can think. The red is the question and the other black is the answers. So it's slightly big sutta, so we'll study the first 10 verses. So below the question. Ye kechi me ditti paribassana idamav sacchanti vivadayanti sarvevate nindaman vayanayanti asopasansampi labhanti tattva. Those who are adhering to the philosophical views, it is ditti of some kind, idamav sacchanti vivadayanti, saying that this alone is the truth, they then have disputes. Sarvevate nindam anvanayanti atho prasansampi labhanti tattva. They say, should all of them be criticized or some of them are praiseworthy? Means whether some of these views are right and some are wrong. That is the question.
अपने ही एतम न अलंग सम्या दुवे विवादासा फलहानि भूमि एतम की दिस्वा न विवादयता खेमा विप्सहम अभिवा
अविवाद भूमि. Appanim alpa hai, it's very small. Etan alang samaya. So this praise and other things is not small, it's not sufficient to bring one to tranquility. Duve vivadasya phalani brumi. There are two fruits of disputes. Etam pi disvana vivadayet And having seen this, let's not enter into any vivad, any dispute. Khemab vipasya avivada bhumi. We should understand that khema, that is the ultimate security, ultimate nibbana, there is no dispute there. So let us not get into any dispute.
What is the praise being taught here?
Some people have praised the views कि ये वाला philosophy तो अच्छी है, अद्वैता अच्छी है, कि विशिष्ट अद्वैत अच्छा है, कि दूसरी चारवाक philosophy. So many philosophies have been there. It says some philosophies are praised, some are criticized. It says no, there is no need. You should see, not get into any dispute, because any philosophy will cause dispute and there will be either victory or defeat. So you'll never be peaceful. So he's using a purely objective criteria that philosophies will not give dispute, will not end disputes. Ya Kachana Samutyo Putrubja. Putrubja, ordinary people, whatever opinions have arisen, Sadbhava Etana Upedi Vidva. These wise men should not, nothing, all of these opinions, we should not try to embrace them and hold on to them. Anupayoso upayam kimeya. Vitte sute katnitim kubbamana. So should he who is free from views be pleased with what has been seen and heard and remain dependent on them? So he's asking, answering in light of a question that one who is free from views, why should he be dependent on any view?
Silu Tama Sananda Menadu Sanya Menadu Suddhi Vatam Samadaya Uptittase Idhev Sikhem Athasa Suddhim Bhavupanita Kusala Vadana.
Seal Uttama, a shield you have Uttam hai, the virtue is the highest, Sannena Suddhim, highest purity. He says that those who consider virtue to be the highest, what do they say? Vatam Samadaya Upattito Idheva Sikkhena Athasya Suddhi. They say, let us all train. हम सब सीखते हैं कि शुद्धि कैसे आएगी, and that purity comes through restraint. So, you know that by self-restraint we get purity. And therefore they say that we should train in such a view that through purity one gets the highest, achieving the highest. Bhavupnita Kusalavadana. But those so-called experts are still immersed in the bhava chakra, in the samsara. Sache chuto silvatto hoti pavedati kam radhayitva pajjapati pathayati chasuddhim satthavahino pavasanghram. सच्चे चुत हो, सत्य से अगर वो गिर जाता है, if he falls from the virtue and शीलवतो तो होती, and with the practice of शीला, pavedati kamma viradayitva, then he gets agitated because he has failed in his actions. Pajjapati pathayati chasuddhim, then he again wants purity in this world life. Satthavahino pavasankharama, just as a person who has lost his companions or lost his caravan while he is away from his home. So just as that such a person would be very afraid and frightened. In a similar manner, if you are totally attached to the religious practices and you fall from them, then you will be frightened and fail and feel sad.
शीला
शीलवत्तम,
बहत्तम
शीलवत परामर्श का सेम वर्ड, शीलवत, शील और व्रत
शील बहत्तम
used as a common term जो religious practices हैं, व्रत हैं डिफरेंट तरह के,
वापी पहाया सभम कमंचा सव जानवती जानव जमेन जमेतम शुद्धिन अशुद्धिंति अपथयनो विरतो चरे संति मनु गवया.
This is to be read, understood properly. Shilvattam papi pahaya sabdam, having left all kinds of religious practices. Kammancha savajanna vajameta, those which are wrong and which are blameless actions, is left there. Suddhin asuddhinte apatthayana, who is not longing for either purity or impurity. Virato chare, he dwells without any attachment. Santimanubhahaya, then he gets peace and he develops peace. One is wandering aloof from both purity and impurity. He dwells free from attachment, he gets peace. So it doesn't mean that one should do impure actions, but he is trying that one should not be really do actions out of self-view. So any action done out of self-view will be a troublesome action. It will not give you peace. So a person who is wandering aloof, virato chare, means koi attachment nahi, dwells without attachment, and then he will get peace. If you are attached even to Shila Vrat Paramarsh, then also there will be suffering. Attachment to religious practices of various kinds will also lead to उद्धन सरा शुद्धि मनुथि अनंति. उद्धन सरा ने बहुत ऊंची आवाज में, deep voice, they keep on saying शुद्धि मनुथि अनंति, purity is very important. Tamupanisaya jiguchanti va, and they are depending on these practices of which is, some of them are very not praiseworthy, they are not good, they are in fact jiguchi means not liked. So depending on practices of which they are not very liked. And athavapi dittham vasutam mutam, or one is attached to what is seen or heard or thought, they uddhan sara suddhi manuthi, in very high voice they praise and long for purity, that we should work for purity. And what is their actual state? Avita tanha se bhava bhavesh, because they are not free from tanha, they are caught in the recurring existence, they go through existence again. Is the pointing out that key thing is to be free from tanha rather than bothering about religious practices of various kinds.
Without practice, how can one be without tanha?
जो शीलवत परामर्श कर रहे, is thinking कि by just following शीला, by doing restraint, व्रत करने से, शील का पालन करने से, अहिंसा जैसे कहा जाता है, basically जो ascetic practices करते हैं, for them it is a mention that ascetic practices by themselves are not going to lead to purity. That kind of purity which you are talking about, ahimsa बोल रहे, early जैसे the Jains follow that strong tendency or strong ascetic practices, is trying to say that by itself is not sufficient. That actually can be a hindrance.
सर इसमें English translation will probably loathsome elements.
लोग मतलब पहले से जैसे उस समय की उस समय कई थी ना, जैसे हमने पढ़ा लिटरेचर में कि वो कुछ लोग कहते थे मेरे बहुत दुष्कर्म है जो मैंने कुत्ते का जीवन जी के वो दुष्कर्म उसी तरह कुत्ते की तरह चलते हैं, उसी तरह बैठते हैं, उसी तरह खाते हैं. इस तरह की स्ट्रेंज प्रैक्टिसेस वर देयर इन दोस टाइम. So it's pointing out that all those kind of practices are not really helpful. तो कई सूत्रों में आता है ना, एक बार कोई आया उनके पास एसेटिक आया, वो उसी तरह से ड्रेस पहने हुए है, कुत्ते की तरह बैठा है, कुत्ते की तरह ही खाता है. उससे कहा कि क्यों कर रहे हो ऐसा, कि ये मेरी वो है साधना है जिससे कि मैं अपने पुराने जन्म के पाप हैं वो धो रहा हूँ. ऐसा कैसे होगा, इस तरह जियो तो अगले जन्म में कुत्ता ही बनोगे. सो देन दे गेट इनटू.
लेकिन उसको क्या पता जो भी कि हम किसी जन्म में क्या था और मैं ऐसे कर्म करके थोड़ी होता हूँ.
तो उस समय की परिस्थिति ऐसी थी. आजकल तो मेरे ख्याल से कोई ऐसा करता नहीं होगा.
बट सर ये एग्जाम्पल एक्सट्रीम है, बट कई जो एग्जाम्पल देखे हैं कि कोई बंदा जैसे अपना हाथ खड़ा कर लेगा हवा में, कि हाथ को नीचे नहीं करूँगा,
नीचे पाँव रखेगा, एक पाँव पे खड़ा रहेगा कंटिन्यूसली.
वो तो फिर सजा वाली नहीं है.
वो तो वही है ना कि अपने आप को दंड दे रहे हैं. बेसिक आइडिया वही था ना, अपने आप को दंड दे रहे हैं. तो मेरे को पापों जो हमारे पाप हैं उनका फल भुगत रहा हूँ, तो वो इस तरह से पाप सारे समाप्त हो जाएंगे दंड दे देते. दैट इज बेसिकली यूज्ड टू बी वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग बिलीफ इन दैट टाइम. मे बी इवन इन सम सेक्ट्स इट मे बी इवन टुडे. जो लोग कांटों के ऊपर सोते हैं, इस तरह के काम करते हैं, मे बी दे हैव स्टिल दैट परसेप्शन.
वो तो गलत है वैसे ही.
पॉइंटिंग आउट, भगवान कह रहे हैं कि उस तरह से आप शुद्धि नहीं आने वाली है. शुद्धि आ भी जाएगी कुछ उस सेंस में जिस सेंस में आप कह रहे हैं, लेकिन तन्हा तो रहेगी, तृष्णा तो रहेगी.
पथ्य मानस की चप्पितानि पवेदितं वापि पक्वतेषु चतुष्पातो इद यस्य नत्थि सकेन वेधेय कुह्यं जप्ते.
ये मानस समझो जिसकी बहुत डिज़ायर्स हैं, कि जब पिता नहीं तो उसको तो और डिज़ायर बढ़ती ही चली जाएगी. सो इवन डिज़ायर टू गिव अप impurity will also increase your desires. Pavediti vapi pakapitesu. So then he trembles, he is agitated. Vapi pakapitesu, and is deluded by prakalpana, different imaginary views. Chutupapato idriyasya nathi. One who is overcome death. Sakena vedheya kuhipi japte. How can he tremble or be desire anything? One who has overcome death and rebirth. Chatu Upato. One who has overcome death and rebirth. How can he tremble or desire? So that is, he says, is the key thing. Even from the perspective of gaining peace. Because the main idea is how to become peace and tranquil. He says, one who has really overcome death and rebirth, he will be always peaceful.
Death or से निकल गया तो there is no body.
Meaning death means this rebirth and going through cycle of death and birth again and again. So एक arhant अगर हो गया, possible you won't have any fear or any agitation of any kind. There is no reason for him to feel agitated because he's gone over the cycle of desires and tanha is finished. So there is no need for him to be frightened or afraid. Then the second question, I think we can stop here and study this in the next. But maybe we can complete it. It's because they are similar. Yamahu dhammam paramanti eke tamev hinanti panahu anye सच्चोनुवादो कथमो इमेशं सब्बे वही में कुशलावदा. यमाहु धम्मम, जिसको धर्म परमंति एक है, जो परम धर्म कहते हैं, what people call as the highest dharma, तमेव हीनंति पनाहु अन्य. तो अन्य लोग उसको कहते हैं बिल्कुल वर्थलेस है, हीन. Satchonuvado Katmo Imese. Which one of them is true doctrine? How does one know? Sabev ही में कुशलावदान. All of them say, सब कहते हैं कि हम इसमें expert हैं, हमारे व्यू में expert हैं. So how does one find out what is really the highest dharma?
Sakkani dhamma परिपुण्यम.
सक्कन ही धर्म मतलब अपना मेरा धर्म जो है वो पुण्य परिपूर्ण है. अन्य से धर्म हीन आहु, दूसरे का धर्म हीन है. So they say that their own dharma is perfect, others everybody says the same thing.
एवंपि विघाया विवादयन्ति.
So there is vivad, so there is dispute, having disagreed, then they have disputes.
सखम सखम समुति माहु सच्चम.
Their own is, everybody says my own opinion is the truth. They keep on disputing and they keep on having arguments and discussions of that kind. Parasya che vabbayiten hino
na kuchit nesu vishesi yasa uthuhi anasa vadanti dhammamam na hindu samahi dhammam vadana.
परस्य चे वब्बयितेन हीन. दूसरे का जो है कहने से, दूसरे की क्रिटिसिज्म से, if we become हीन, if we become low by just by somebody's criticism, no kochi dhammesu visesiyasya, then nobody will be distinguished because each one of is firmly saying that others is low. तुतु ही अन्यस्य वदन्ति धम्मं निहीनतो समहिदम्मं दौर्म. So if just by others criticizing you, you become low, then there is no solution because everybody will be calling everybody else is low. So then there will be no solution because each one is firmly saying others are low and I am true. So there will always be contempt and dispute between people.
Saddham jati nesam tathe yatha pasansanti sakaya nani sabdev vada tatya bhaveyum suddhi hi nesam pachitamev.
सद्धर्म पूजा की नेसम तथैव. So अपने धर्म की तो वो पूजा करेंगे. So the worshipping of their own dharma as yatha pasansanti sakayanani and praise it. So they worship their own dharma as great and praise their own ways. Sabbeva vada tathya bhavehu suddhi hi nesam pachamev teva. Pachitamev, there is a personal issue. Then purity becomes personal because even if you assume that all views are true, then everybody has his own personal idea of what is purity. So that means there is no universal definition of what is a purity. And then he's using pure logic to convince these devas that this idea of purity by various practices, ascetic practices, is not going to lead anywhere. Na brahmanasya parneyamathi dhammesu nichcheye samugvihitam tasma vivadani upati vatto nahi se thatto tasasi dhammamanya. Na brahmanasya parneyamathi, जो ब्राह्मण है मतलब who is really a noble one, parneyamathi does not need to be guided by others. Dhammesu nichcheye samugvihitam. By after investigation, he'll find that there is no other dharma which is worth picking up from him. Tasma vivadani upatti vatto. Therefore, from vivada, from disputation, he is transcended. He doesn't get into disputes. Nahi sethatto pasasi dhamma manya. Because he knows the what he knows indirectly, better than that there is nothing else. Everything else is an opinion. This is a direct knowledge.
जो और करती थी उस समय वो डायरेक्ट एक्सपीरियंस नहीं करते थे,
वो यही करते थे ascetic practices of various kind, और उनको लगता था कि उससे चित्त शुद्ध हो जाएगा. मतलब अगर हम अभी भी कुछ घंटे कांटों की सेज पे बैठ जाए फिर उठे तो अच्छा लगेगा हाँ हमने कुछ किया, कुछ तप किया. जो तप का कॉन्सेप्ट था वो इसी तरह का होता है. चारों तरफ आग जला ली और बीच में बैठे हैं, तप रहे हैं. आग अग्नि आ रही है और हम उसको सहन कर रहे हैं. तो सहन करने का कॉन्सेप्ट क्यों कर रहे हैं? ताकि उससे हमारे साथ जो पाप किए हैं पिछले जन्मों के वो धुल जाए. क्यों धुल जाएंगे? क्योंकि पाप का फ्रूट तो यही होता है कष्ट. तो हम अपने आप को कष्ट दे रहे हैं तो अपने आप धुल जाएंगे. दैट काइंड ऑफ लॉजिक.
लेकिन अपने आप को कष्ट दे रहे हैं ना, नेचुरल वे में नहीं ना.
वो सब बात नहीं है ना कि नेचुरल होना चाहिए और कष्ट देने से कुछ नहीं होगा. दैट अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज नॉट देयर.
सर लेकिन मैंने स्टेप्स नहीं समझा. मतलब जैसे भगवान ने भी वो 7 ज्ञान और वो सब जो सीखे थे 2 टीचर से, तो वो एक तरीके से तो स्टेप्स ही थे ना कि फिर अल्टीमेटली उन्होंने ये टेक्निक डिस्कवर की. तो जो और लोग भी कर रहे थे तो वो एक तरीके से स्टेप ही नहीं थे कि फिर वो आगे जैसे
जो एस्थेटिक प्रैक्टिस है वो स्टेप नहीं. अगर दूसरी ध्यान व्यान करेंगे तो नेचुरली दे विल बी हेल्पफुल. Ascetic practices by themselves may give you a physical strength, mental strength to face unpleasant things, but वो proper view ना होने के कारण, because the view is not right. So if the view is not right, then we can't move further much more than that.
सर तो वो तो ज्ञान प्रैक्टिसेस में भी जब भगवान ने भी की होगी तो व्यू वो क्या है?
तो इसीलिए वो by dhyana practices they used to attain higher realms of existence, but then from there they will fall down and come back. जो भी गहरे संस्कार बच गए उस ब्रह्मा स्ट्रीम में जो रह गए, जब उनका फल आएगा तो कई बार एनिमल वर्ल्ड रेल में भी ना, फ्रॉम ब्रह्मा रेल दे वुड कम डाउन टू एनिमल रेल डायरेक्टली, बिकॉज दे हैव नॉट सीन थ्रू द mechanism by which we get into birth and death. उस डायरेक्शन में काम नहीं किया. They work to develop minds to such an extent that they can get better planes of existence. But the fact that ego should be transcended, वो तो ख्याल आया ही नहीं. मैं का भाव तो बढ़ता ही चला गया.
जानामि पश्यामि तथैव एतं ध्याय एके अर्जेनति शुद्धिं. अथा कहि चे किन्हि मसा तेन अति सिद्ध्वा
अन्येन वदन्ति शुद्धिं. जानामि पश्यामि तथैव एतत्. मैं जानता हूँ भाई, पश्चिम देख भी रहा हूँ और ऐसा क्या बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है. तथैव एतत्, सत्य ऐसा ही है. दिठ्ठिया एके पचन्ति शुद्धि. सो दे थिंक दैट आई नो, आई सी, एंड दिस इज हाउ द ट्रुथ इज, एंड दे फील दैट अगेन फॉल बैक ऑन प्योरिटी. दैट इज प्योरिटी इज द one greatest thing to be achieved. Purity which is achieved in this manner of expiating your past sins. It says adikhiche kinhi tumasya tena. Even if you have seen, what is the use of it for that? Why? Atisitvad, they cross the boundary, they overstepping. Anyena vadanti suddhi. They say purity comes by some other means, by whatever means they have been doing. They are saying. So he says, even if what I've seen, he has not seen it properly. Some people say that I know I've seen it by direct experience. But if the view is not right, what you see and what you experience, you will not interpret it properly. Asam naro dakkhati nama rupam. When a person sees, nara means man, when a man sees nama rupa means mind and matter. Viswanava nesati tanimeva. By having seen that, he will only understand that much. Kamam bahum pasatu appakamba. Let him at pleasure see much or little. Nahi tena suddhim kusala vadanti. For experts say that purity does not come from just seeing that. Even if you see what is mind and what is matter, that does not make you pure, because you have to see the delusion caused by attachment to mind and matter.
Nivissavadi nahi suddhi nayo pakam pitam ditti purek ranu yam nissito tathat subham vadano suddhi vado tathat tattadasa subh.
Nivissavadi means opinion settled, dogmatist. Nahi suddhi nayo. He cannot be guided by being. He is not easy to discipline. Suddhi nayo is not easy to discipline because he is not compliant. So, Pakappiti Ditti Pure Karan. He is guided by prejudiced views, so he is not easy to discipline. Nahi Nissito Tattha Subham Vadano. Says good is what he is given to. So, such a person whose dogmatist believes what he is doing is good, and therefore is not willing to listen to others. And Suddhi Vatho Tad Dasa. So whatever he is seeing says that is what purity is. So he is not willing to listen to others' point of view. Na brahmano kappam upeti sankha, na ditti sari, na pinyana bandhu, netvachaso samupeti puthujja, upekhati ubbahan nanti manni. Na brahmano means who's enlightened, who's become arhan. Kappam upeti sankhya. He does not enter into these cycles of number of births and deaths. He does not enter into the world cycles. Na ditti sari. He does not follow any philosophical view. Napi nana bandhu. Nor he is given to scholarship. Netvachaso samupeti puthujja. Having upikheti ubbanhi manni. Having penetrated the various kinds of theories which are there among the Puthujanas, among various people, Upekhati, he becomes indifferent to them. Ugganhiti manye, while others remain attached to them. So he says, a person who has really become Brahman, really become Arhan, he will not be follower of any philosophical view. No view will follow, nor be given to excessive disputation and scholarly debates, because he has penetrated various theories and seen that they are useless, and therefore he is indifferent to them.
Nisacha Kantani Munidhe Loke Viva Jatesu Na Vakar Sari Santu Asantesu Pe Khanko So Anugaho Ugha Anti Manyan.
So he is now answering that first question, that who is better among them? Some are giving praise, some are getting dispute. So which of them is better? So he says, Visajja Granthani, jiske granthiya toot gayi, one who has given up all the worldly ties, Muni the Loke, such a Muni is na Vivad Jate, so na Vargasari. He does not take any side. He is not partisan among people who dispute. He just lets them dispute. He keeps aloof from there. Santo asantesu upekha koso. Among the people who are agitated, he remains peaceful. Upekha, he is indifferent to these theories among various different philosophical views. Anuggaho uggaha manye. While others remain attached to them, he remains indifferent to these. So he doesn't say which is better and which is not better. All of them for him are not useful.
Navi akupam na chandadu nopi nivisa vadakvadi sadhu mukto anukto vitthipayi dhiro nalimpati muki anatagam
Tubba sive hitva. So Tubba means the earlier ones. Asave, Purana Asav Hitva, chhodke, having given up earlier defilements. Nave Akubbam, and not taking up new ones. Na Chandabu Nopi Nivissavadi, does not become partisan and is free from any views. Savippa Mukto is free, is Ditthigate Hildhiro, is being wise. He does not cling to any of the views. Limpati loke anatta nagari. He is not attached to the world and neither anatta gari. He doesn't blame himself also for anything because he has abandoned all defilements. Sasabba dhammesu visena bhuto. He has overcome all dhammas, all theories. Yam kinchit dittham swasutam mutam. Whatever has been seen, heard or thought, all such kind of theories which are based on these things he has overcome. Sapanna bharo muni vipmukto. He has laid down his burden. Bharam nacho. He has laid down his burden and such a muni is vipmukto, is completely liberated. Na kappiyo nu parato na pattiyo. He does not imagine, he does not want, he does not wish anything. So said the Lord. This is the end of this Mahaviju. So, no theory, no view which is based on whatever has been seen or heard or thought. Everything has been laid down. Does not imagine anything, does not wish for anything. Such a person is always peaceful. That is the message which this Sutta gives us. Because quite often we also have a tendency to say this is better than that. Any comment or question? No comment. So we can now take up the Praticca Samutpad. I have separated it out from the that applications one because it was becoming, file was becoming too big.
So in the email also, the size was big. In the email also, when we were sending the attachment,
size बड़ा हो जाता है. Done up to. We have concluded the discussion on the standard model and also on the single life model last time discussion. Now, today what we have done is we will discuss variants of standard 12-link Praticca Samutpad. Because what we have studied is the standard Avidya, Pratyaya, Sankhara, and we think that is Praticca Samutpad. But if you study the suttas, you find so many different variations on that. It's not that, because we tend to, get attached to the structure of things, that it has to happen like this only. So that's not true actually. So Buddha himself has explained it in so many ways. pointing out that this is not a kind of a rigid, after this will come this, after this will come this. The sequence of the various events which lead to suffering can be of different kinds of sequences are possible. So here I have put down various variants. Firstly, the ones which are, the commentators and the people who have studied these, they have pointed out that therefore we should not get dogmatically attached to this very Vijjapachya, Sankhara, Sankharapachya, Vijnana, because these 12 links is a way of explaining the fact that because of defilements one gets attached. That's basically the idea is this, that because of defilements in the mind one gets suffering, and if the defilements are not there, suffering will not be there. That is the key thing. Now defilements can be defined in variety of ways. The method, the sequencing in which they occur can be different for different people. So we should not therefore get dogmatically attached to the 12 link system. So it is quite a challenge for people who have been given to that.
बेसिकली तो 12 जो है यही है, मतलब वो किस रूप में आते हैं वो हर एक
12 there are जो जिसमें the discourse in which Paticca Samutpada is explained most profoundly is the Mahanidana Sutta. There 10 links are there. First two are not there.
but they are
First one is ignorance and
Ignorance, avidya, pachya, sankhara is missing. Sankhara, pachya, vijnanam is missing. No, उनमें से क्या हुआ? You know, if you are dogmatically attached, then you will see क्या हुआ? अविद्या की जरूरत नहीं है क्या? So you have to read between and see that. There, when we will come to, we will see that. So let me not, because that is a very profound sutta on which a lot of people have commented in different ways. So I want to start from simple things which are there. So there is a full section in Samyutta Nikaya. It's called Nidana Vaggu. And there are now so many suttas there where this Nidana, the causation is explained, cause of suffering is explained. Because once you know cause of suffering, you will know what is the way out of it. And it is explained in a variety of ways. So many different ways. Ending is always evam etasya dukh khandasya samudayo hoti. It all ends in the same, but beginning is different, intermediate states are different. So we should therefore see this whole idea of rigidity in structure should be given up, and we should see the essence. Essence of it is that if there is defilement, if there is tanha, there will be suffering. And how it happens, what is the mechanism, it can be explained in a variety of ways. So I'll just taken some of them. Of course, the most dominant recurring theme is same. 12 link is the recurring one. Out of this, there must be a very large number of suttas in that section. Out of them, most of them have this avidya, pachya, sankhara and all. But a number of them have different things altogether, totally different things. So what are they? Just for the sake of...
start with tanha causes suffering. That becomes the basic essence.
Basic key is second noble truth. The basic key is second noble truth. That there is first noble truth, there is suffering. And suffering itself is explained, panch upadana, khanda, dukkha. And second noble truth, tanha is the cause of suffering. And cessation of the that very tanha is given up, then there will be freedom from suffering. So that is the key thing. Now these are explanations. The Paticca Samutpada is a detailed explanation. And Buddha repeatedly says that for stream entry, understanding Paticca Samutpada is very important. Which means understanding the whole noble truths is very important in a deep sense. Then only one can say one can become stream entry. Other than that, the attributes of stream entry are having faith in Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and being established in the five shilas properly, not breaking any of the shilas, and understanding the Paticca Samutpada. At many places this is pointed out as a condition for stream entry. That is understanding the cause-effect relationships which cause suffering and how to get out. So let us see What are the various variants? So this is 12. Most of them are in the 12th book. It is 12.38 is Chetana Sutta. नहीं खुला क्या?
Slide
26. Slide है 26. Now this Chetana Sutta is very important actually because it deals with our day-to-day life in a way. Yancha bhikkhave cheteti, yancha pakappati, yancha anuseti, arammanametam hoti vinyanasya thitya. Vinyan means the consciousness gets established. Thitya means sthit ho jati hai. Kab? किस पे? Yancha bhikkhave cheteti, when one intends something as a chetana of something. Intention is there. Yancha pakappati, when one plans something. Yancha anuseti, when one has a latent tendency towards something. Then arammanametam, this becomes the object for vijnana support, which means this itself will cause us rebirth again and again. Because if we have anything, in any intention, any planning, any tendency, latent tendency towards doing something, that is sufficient for us to get new birth. The consciousness will get fixed, established. Vijnana se tithya means this is the place where consciousness gets established, and then it finds an opportunity for getting established in this. Arammane sati patita vijnanasya hoti. When there is some basis, then there is support for establishing consciousness. Tasmain patitte vijnane viruvale ayitam punam bhava abhinibbhavati. So, when consciousness is established and come to growth, there is a production of punarbhava, there is a renewed existence. Ayatim punabhavan abhinibbhavati. So, in the future, when there is a new birth, sati ayatim jati jara marana soga paradev dukkha khandasya domanasya sambhavanti. So, when a new birth is there, then there will be death, there will be illness, and there will be the arising of the whole mass of suffering. Evametasya kevalasya dukkha khandasya samdayo hoti. This is how the whole mass of suffering arises. This is the crux. This is how one way it is explained. So this is also explaining how the suffering is arising. So it's not giving all those 12 links and nothing. It's only explaining it. The key point here is, if there is some intention in the mind, some planning going on for future, planning obviously is for future, and one has a latent tendency towards doing something, latent भी है, तब भी पुनर्भव तो हो ही जाएगा.
प्लानिंग तो करते ही इंसान जैसे इसमें
वो तो सामान्य जीवन में करते हैं, तो प्लानिंग करते हैं तो इसका मतलब मैं का भाव रहता है ना.
फिर तो छुटकारा हो ही नहीं सकता हम लोगों का.
Can't get out of this. What does it mean, planning? Planning means there is an intention to achieve something in future. It doesn't mean that मैं कुछ जो फंक्शनल चीज़ें हैं वो करने के लिए प्लानिंग कर रहा हूँ. बिल्कुल करना होगा. सड़क क्रॉस करनी है तो बाएं दाएं देख के क्रॉस करेगा, इससे कुछ नहीं होगा. बट व्हेन यू आर प्लानिंग टू अचीव समथिंग इन फ्यूचर, द चेतेति मीन्स इंटेंशन है, चेतना है. पकप्पति एक्चुअली मीन्स इमेजिनिंग. सो यंच पकप्पति प्रकल्पित करता है, कुछ प्लान इमेजिन करता है कि कुछ मैं अचीव करूँगा. यंच अनुसेति. सो दिस इज ऑब्वियसली implying our day-to-day life. And in day-to-day life, the notion of I had remains, and then there will be new birth. There is no way that we can get out of that. So so it's pointing out to us. What I wanted to bring out was, and many commentators have pointed out, that we tend to get fixated that there should be all the 12 links. There are hardly any links there. It straight away jumps from, and it is true, if you think it in the totality sense, in the overall sense, it is very true. If I have some intention, I will be reborn. So that's how it this consciousness will transmigrate to another, it will find its descent into another womb. And then one day I am reborn, then I will suffer. So it gives you, so what should you do therefore? If you don't intend, if you don't plan, if you don't have any imaginations, if you don't have any latent tendencies, then consciousness will not find a footing. That's the word used. Then there will be no way that consciousness wants to go. So the path to suffering, liberation from suffering is yanche na cheteti, na pakappati, na anuseti. So this is totally different presentation, but one can see it's true, it's very true.
सर एक क्वेश्चन है, अल्टीमेट एनलाइटनमेंट तक पहुंचने से पहले, जैसे बुद्धा की भी लाइफ थी, जब तक वो और चीज़ों में इन्वॉल्व थे, तब तक तो उन्होंने भी कुछ ना कुछ प्लान किया होगा, कोई ना कोई इंटेंशन होगी, और फिर उसी लाइफ के अंदर वो एनलाइटनमेंट उन्होंने अचीव कर लिया। तो फिर उससे पहले की जो लाइफ थी जहाँ पे वो प्लानिंग और सब कर रहे थे, तो
that becomes the pathway for stream entry from Sakdagami, Anagami. He's talking of complete liberation, of becoming an Arahant. So the path is laid out. Even for stream entry for Sotapanna also, some defilements remain. Craving remains, some aversion remains, the restlessness also remains. Sotapanna means one has got a complete clarity that I am not the body-mind complex, but that notion of I am remains. So he is not completely free from cycle of birth and death. He will have some more births. So he is talking of Vijnanasya Titthiya, for establishment of consciousness, which means consciousness will not find any footing, so you are completely liberated. No more birth, no more birth. So this is the state of the Arahant. That for an Arahant, there will be no planning in that sense of what to do in future, what to achieve. Planning from the point of view of achieving. If Ajahn Sumedho has to travel from Thailand to England, somebody has to plan for his ticket and get all that. That's not the problem.
सर वो ठीक है, लेकिन वो सब तब है जब वो अरहंत बन गए। लेकिन उसी लाइफ में अगर अजान सुमेधो भी जब स्टूडेंट थे या कुछ थे, तब उनकी भी तो कुछ प्लानिंग, तो वो एनर्जीज फिर कहाँ जाएंगी?
That will be towards the path, no? Planning for following the path. So we all are sitting and planning for following the path. तो क्यों बैठे हैं? आप लोग जो आए हैं ना, प्लान करके तो आए हैं। So we are planning so that we follow the path and eventually get over that whole business of planning to achieve something. अभी तो मन में एक achievement का part रहता है ना, that I want to be free. So that part has to be slowly given. There is an intention. We all have an intention that we want to be free from it. So that's why intention is a ethically neutral factor. It's not ethically wholesome or unwholesome. अभी हमारा ethically wholesome intention है, so we are following a path to improve ourselves, to become better, to reduce our cravings, to reduce our latent tendencies. So that will take us in that direction.
But intention will be
eventually it will everything will be.
But intention भी एक रुकावट है.
In the absolute sense. Rukavat in the sense that it should not be based on a self-view. I want to achieve something. Intention जैसे है वो ethically neutral factor.
मुक्ति के रास्ते पर जैसे जाने जाते हैं तो आप मतलब
शुरुआत तो वैसे ही करेंगे ना, शुरुआत तो वैसे ही करेंगे, लेकिन eventually वो भी छोड़ना ही होगा ना, कि मुझे मुक्ति चाहिए, वो भाग भी छोड़ना ही पड़ेगा eventually.
वो छूट जाएगा या छोड़ना पड़ेगा?
मतलब छूट जाएगा साधना अगर ठीक, अगर हम सम्मा दिट्ठी से काम करेंगे तो छूट जाएगा,
आ भी नहीं आएगा।
सतीपट्ठान में भी कहा था ना, बार बार साधना करते करते यावदेव ज्ञानमत्ता है सतीमत्ता है, तो प्रैक्टिस करते करते रीच ए स्टेट वेयर देयर इज ओनली ज्ञान only sati. There is only knowledge, there is only mindfulness. There is no person who is mindful. There is no person who is knowledgeable. So that kind of state will come by practice again and again. Seeing through the illusion of personality again.
पर जब उस स्थिति पर पहुंचेगा इंसान तो उसका तो रहेगा ही अटैचमेंट शरीर से, तो काम करता ही जाएगा मतलब.
That he will not. I mean, that's how we. The key thing for us to understand here is that the path to liberation is not just laid down in one particular sequence. जैसे नई बार हम लोग समझने लगते हैं कि जब तक आप 12 के 12 स्टेप नहीं करोगे तब तक नहीं होगा, ऐसा नहीं. See, he's pointing out, eventually this will also amount to the same thing. Eventually, the lack of the absence of any intending for future, planning for future, or imagining anything, or any latent tendency, it essentially means the same thing. That this will happen only when there are no tanha. But the way it manifests is different. It is manifesting in our day-to-day life. So we can relate it more easily to what is going on in our day-to-day life.
So Shailesh has this question that isn't volition a key need and concept in daily life?
Yeah, of course. Of course. So we start from volition is in fact which is present in all our consciousness. What he is telling us is when consciousness does not find a footing. So as long as there is a volition of some kind, which means to achieve something, then we will be in the cycle of working. So he's talking of विज्ञानस्य स्थितिया, विज्ञान का स्थिर होना, for the consciousness to find a footing. So that rebirth linking consciousness will not find a footing. There will be no intention is left, no chetana is left. Chetana means kamma basically. Kamma arises because of chetana. So no kamma is left which is powerful enough to take us further. No imagination is there, no latent tendency is there. Then one will become arhat. Then that will be the last point. Then the consciousness will not find a footing in the next point.
This Shailesh is asking, sir, what does footing means? Does it mean that no footing means being in presence?
No place to. No, I think there's that Sutta. I think I should have told the background. When we talk of Anityasana Vijnana, there's that Sutta where he gives the example of Buddha asks the monks that this light is entering through this window. Where is it falling? So it's falling on the floor. Okay, suppose the floor is removed, where will it fall? He says it will go and fall on the other wall. If that wall is also not there, where will it go? It will not find a footing anywhere. It will not have any place to go. So unless the light strikes something, you can't see it. There is nothing to see. So similarly, consciousness, if it does not find a footing, some basis where it can descend. So when the as we had explained, the sankhara pachya vijnana. So if there is a sankhara is also in a way intention, arising kamma. So if there is no kamma, the next vijnana is not going to arise. So it will not. There will be no vijnana where it can descend, no boom where it can descend. So when I say not find a footing, titya means not get established. So it will not get established anywhere because there is no momentum to drive it further. There is no kamma to drive it further. So it will not find any footing. That's the meaning of saying it. Meaning it will not descend into any womb further. Then the next sutta is Dutiya Chetana Sutta. It again starts with the same thing. Yancha bhikkhave cheteti yancha pakappati yancha anuseti aramanametam hoti vinyanasya thitya. So this is the same thing. But then it says aramanas sati padityata vinyanasya hoti. This also is the same thing. But now from Vijnana is giving the full links. Tasmin patitte Vijnane virulahe nam rupasya vakanta hoti. So from that established consciousness, the nam rupa arises. From nam rupa pachya salayatan, salayatan pachya phassa, phassa pachya vedana. So the rest of the links are same till it comes to jati pachya jara maranam shok paradev dukkhato manasya upayasa samudaya evamethasya kevalasya dukkha khandasya samudaya hoti. So what is happening? It is now giving a detailed, more details of the consciousness descending and what is going to happen. Then consciousness descends, then it will manifest in Nam Rupa. From Nam Rupa will manifest six senses. Six senses will experience contact, and from contact it experience Vedana. And because there is still latent tendency, Vedana will result in Tanha and so on. So rest of the links are same. So now if you see it in a structured manner, the initial portions of avidya, pachya, sankhara, sankhara, pachya, vijnanam are explicitly not mentioned. But implicitly they are there. Yancha bhikkhave cheteti, yancha pakapati, yancha anuseti. All this is in a way sankhara, various kinds of sankhara. If you remember those 52 different mental factors, where sankharas were 50 of them, they are basically various kinds of imaginations, various kinds of thoughts, processes which arise, various kinds of intentions which arise. So it is explained in a totally different manner. Rest of the things follow the same paradigm. So this is the second version.
Shlej had one more question, that doesn't volition arise due to past karma?
Yeah, of course.
So that is, there is already footing already.
The volition can be neutral, wholesome, unwholesome. So if you remember, we had studied the mental factors. There were 7 ethically neutral mental factors which are always present in every chitta. So volition is one of them. So there the volition is doing coordination. Volition is 2 functions. One is coordinating various mental factors. Second is acting as an action, agent of action. So when the person is an arhat, the chetana acts only to coordinate the various functions. There is no kamma, there is no intention to do any further action. Action just happens spontaneously. There is no I doing an action. So the chetana can be has 2 different components.
So, in terms of day-to-day living, given that in day-to-day living we have to, the mind goes in the planning mode, and what this thing can happen in the future, so I need to plan for this.
Yeah.
So then, but one tries to then overdo also those things.
Yeah.
So then, where is the line which says that possibly this much is enough?
I think it would be better to view it in a different manner. As long as there is that notion of I doing something. You remember that small clip I had posted in Facebook also of Ramdas, 40 years ago clip.
Yeah.
As long as you think that you are somebody doing something to attain something, you will suffer. Period. You suffer. So that is the point being made. If I have that understanding that nature is operating through this instrument, and whatever it wants me to do, I am doing it, then there is no problem. Then the notion of I is substantially cut down. Then you plan.
Something which has to plan, it will be planned,
Yeah.
but
Then it has to be done. Okay, it has to be done. That's all right. Well, nature wants me to go to search for a place for monastery. That's how I deeply feel. So I take my car, go, find out. That's all right. It's just a functional chitta operating. we have substantially, by our understanding, reduced the intensity of doership. Key thing is doership. So if we reduce the intensity of doership in the light of samadhi, then there is no issue. Then these things are like line drawn on water, as the example is given. It's fine. Whatever we do, if we deeply reflect, whatever we do is a result of the karma stream which is operating. That's why that beautiful Rama statement, it's ownerless karma which is just manifesting in various ways. Don't take it personally. So if we don't take our life personally, then we are free. It does not mean that we will not do anything. We'll do so many things. But we do it impersonally. We'll do planning also. We have to do something, decide something. Because there are certain inherent tendencies which are there. Now those inherent tendencies we take personally, or we think that as a nature given tendency to this organism and let it to manifest in whatever form it wants to. Whatever able, this way, in the devotional paradigm, they say, that whatever I do is submitted to the Lord. I am not doing it, the Lord is doing it. But that's the way of thinking so as to reduce the notion of ego. Notion of doership. So basically, notion of doership, that is done by a thinking process. Here it is done on understanding. Deep understanding that there is really no one who is doing it. There is no one here. The breath is going on by itself. The heart is moving on by itself. Nature is doing it. And because my heart is still moving, therefore I am able to do something. And there are certain abilities nature has endowed me with. At this moment, I have certain abilities. Let the nature use them. Nature is using them, wants me to use. If I hold on to, nahi, main to nahi karunga, that also is a sense of doership in the opposite direction. I don't want to do. That also becomes a doership of resisting what nature wants you to do. So spontaneity means whatever naturally wants to manifest through the organism, let it happen. Of course, it presumes that there is a whole background of Shila, Samadhi and Prajna. That is presumed. Otherwise, it will be chaos. If that is not there, then every murderer will say, "Yeah, मेरे मन में करा था, मैंने कर दी."
उसको अभी जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं उसमें हम ये बोल सकते हैं कि the volition is there, but the volition will be drawing the comma, like drawing the line on the water.
There is no volition actually. It is just a manifestation of the karma which is there in the stream which is manifesting in this shape of this body. So there is no volition in the sense of I am the doer. The chanda arises, I need to study, or I need to study and explain it to my friends. Now it could be out of doership, like, oh, I must do something and make a good presentation and make people understand and build up my image and all that. Or it could be that sometimes thought comes, why do I do it? Do it. Stop. I have to go and do something else and do my own sadhana and this all useless. Nature wants to. Nature has given you certain ability. Somebody has given, you have now, because of various reasons, got certain ability. I have got certain ability. She has got certain ability. Let that ability be used in the way nature wants it to be used. So when we surrender in that sense, then the volition is basically coordination of various activities, of various mental factors. There is no doership in that sense at all, or it's substantially reduced at least. So understanding is the key. So in between 1238 and 1239, the difference is only that in 39 that explanation is given deeply. What will happen after Vijnana, then Nam Rupa Pacha and all that is given. But in the earlier one, when there is a rebirth, suffering will happen. All this is not explained because it is clear that one is born, then he will eventually die. He will become old, he will decay, and suffering will be there. Let us see the next one. It is a very important, I think, sutta, because it talks of this life, what is happening in this life today. It doesn't talk of the earlier parts and the other parts. Chakkuncha paticca rupecha upajjati chakku vinyana tinnam sangati phassa. You remember we had studied it in Madhupindaka Sutta. How, so we have all six senses. So I see something and there is a consciousness which arises. There is an interaction of them and there is a phassa. There is a contact and phassa pachya vedana. There is a feeling which arises. And because there is ignorance, the vedana pachya tanha. And I am ko bhikkhave dukkhasya samudaya. Because they have already sought in second noble truth. Tanha is the cause of suffering. So in that sutta he explains it in this way. This is how suffering arises. And of course later on the same thing. Evametasya dukkha samudayasya. So you can see this is the one which is operating in our day-to-day life. We see something, we hear something, we touch something, feeling arises and we react to it, create tanha, and that tanha will eventually give us suffering. So you can see here the other parts, upadana, prajnapachya, upadana, upadanapachya, bhava, bhavapachya, jati, jati, nothing is mentioned at all. Because we know tanha causes suffering. So and this is again part of the same Sayukta, Vedana Sayukta. So the cause of suffering is explained in a very simple, just Vijnana Phassa, Vedana. Right from Salayatan you starting. Salayatan Pachya Phassa, Phassa Pachya Vedana, Vedana Pachya Tanha, stop. Tanha Pachya Dukkha. Period. So he's removed the other links. Probably because those people didn't need that discussion. So Buddha is very open and flexible how to explain the Paticca Samutpada.
So from the last discussion on evolution, there is a question from Sudhakar whether if the doer does the work or the nature did it, it will become clear only in retrospect when the effect of the action left an impression that of a line on water or a line on rock.
Well, it will definitely show in retrospect, but if I am mindful before doing any action and check up, am I taking these things personally? And if I have check up, then I'll naturally abdicate that sense of fear. Just by being mindful of this fact is sufficient to reduce it. Just being mindful, this particular action, am I doing it by taking my abilities personally? Taking these particular constellation of situations, because any action is done when a constellation of situations arises. There is some ability, there is some condition, there is some opportunity. All these arise, then only we are able to do something. So if you take all of them personally, because I am intelligent, therefore this is happening. Or I am intelligent, I am not intelligent, therefore this is not happening. So then there will be difficulty. Then there will be that notion of doership will be there. So if we become aware right at the outset, whenever a volition arises, whenever a chetna arises, become aware. Am I taking these things personally? That's enough. That's enough to reduce the intensity of devotion. It's the best we can do. So if we become cognizant of that, mindful of that, arising of ego, the hold of the ego falls down drastically.
But sir, you mentioned that whenever the volition arises and then you have an awareness, that also gives the impression of retrospect, like
Yeah, in that mind moment retrospect, what probably means is after having done the action. So within a mind moment, it is retrospect. It will be the next mind moment, but that is such a fleeting time period that it doesn't really matter in practical terms.
and so there is one more question which is related to the current sutta, this Dukkha Sutta. The question is, what does Vedana refer here?
Feeling. Vedana refers to the mental feeling which arises. When I see something, either like it or dislike it, there's the pleasant feeling or unpleasant. Vedana is basically three kinds: Sukha Vedana, Dukha Vedana, Adukha Sukha Vedana. So when I see something, there is a pleasant feeling, oh it's beautiful, or there is an unpleasant feeling, ugly, or neutral feeling, we'll ignore it. When I hear something, I like it, oh what a wonderful music, I dislike it, I get the unpleasant feeling, oh such a loud noise, or it's neutral, it doesn't matter to me, I'm indifferent to it. Similarly about smell, similarly about touch, similarly about taste. So Vedana is going to arise at every sense door. Similarly about thoughts. You are sitting and thinking, sometimes we think obnoxious thoughts and get upset. कैसा विचार आ गया यार छोड़ो. Sometimes we think exalted thoughts and we think, oh, अच्छे विचार आ रहे हैं. They're all manifestation of Vedana. It is only at the body level that Kaya Sansparsha Vedana has a physical element of the sensations of the body. And then we have the next, Loka Sutta. So here by Loka he means the whole world, and we know the world is a kind of full of suffering. So it means the same thing, but uses the word Loka. Now again, it is similar to the earlier one, but with some more details added. Chakkuncha paticcha rupe chopajjati chakku vinnyanam tinnam sangati phassa. So it's explaining how the vijnana arises. Now he's not saying that vijnana is arising because of sankhara. See that? He's not saying sankhara pachya vinnyanam, because that is usually explained to happen at the time of rebirth linking in standard model. So he just removed those, telling us what is happening with us in day-to-day life. Everyday life, just as it is chakkuncha paticcha, similarly it will be sotancha paticcha, so every sense door. I have just cut down, I have not repeated everything. So at every sense door it is happening. When we say I am seeing, it actually means chakku vinyana is arising. We have already discussed it so many times. When I say I am hearing, it essentially means there is a sota vinyana arising. And once the vinyana arises, then there will be phassa. Phassa pachya vedana, vedana pachya tana, tana pachya upadan, upadan pachya bhava, bhava pachya jati, jati pachya jara maran sukha pardev dukha domanasya upayasa sambhavanti. Then what does he say? Ayam ko bhikkhave lokas samudayo. This is how the world arises. Because the way...
But the world is going to arise in the same manner. No?
The world means not physical world. The world which impinges on us, me. On me, the world which impinges is through these senses. Otherwise, the world has no meaning for me. So the suffering is explained as starting from the 6 sense doors. The earlier part is omitted. So this also is a presentation of the same paticca samutpada. The next one is starting from upadan, from clinging. Now what does it say? Upadanesu bhikkhave dhammesu asadhanupasino viharata tanha pavadati. Which means asadasya upanisso. Asad means, gratification. Swad lena uska. So when dwells, upadane says, when dwells on things which give us gratification. जब हम सोचते हैं कि ये आइसक्रीम खाई जाए कि वो वाली खाई जाए, ये वाला कपड़ा खरीदा जाए कि वो वाला कपड़ा खरीदा जाए, and then we are attached to them and enjoying that, then craving increases. तन्हा प्रवर्धति, तन्हा का वर्धन होता है. So उपादानेषु विक्षवे धम्मेषु. So when one is constantly contemplating of gratification of things, then tanha will increase. And then once tanha increases, suffering is set into motion. Tanha pachya upadan, upadan pachya bhav. Same thing is explained, that how suffering is arising. So now what is the suffering here? The cause, initial cause is mentioned. If you can cause that, the initial cause is contemplating gratification in things. जो यही विचार करना कि मुझे ये मिल जाए तो कितना अच्छा होगा, ये मिल जाए तो कितना अच्छा होगा, ये मिल जाए तो कितना अच्छा होगा, that is where the suffering will originate. And how it will end then? The next sutta tells, upadyanesu bhikkhave dhammesu adinava anupassyano viharato. If one dwells contemplating danger in these things, adinava means danger. So if you think that, oh, these things are pleasant, there is a danger involved, I may get caught in them. If he reflects, contemplates in that manner, then tanha nirujjhati, then the tanha ceases, it does not arise. And if tanha does not arise, suffering will not arise at that time. So you are interacting with the world, but careful that you are not contemplating gratification of the sensory pleasures. You are seeing, in a sense, danger involved in gratification. It does not mean that you stop eating food. It means you don't see that it is going to give me great satisfaction and joy. It may give a pleasant feeling at the most. And that pleasant feeling I can convert it into a craving. And that is beginning of suffering. So seeing it in that manner is what is suggested to be the way out of suffering. Still another sutta. It starts now.
So Amit had the question that then how to wisely choose clothes or taste, not just being indifferent.
Yeah, the food is eaten for the health. We have studied that part already. How should we decide what food to eat so that the body does not creep? Simple example was given. आपको याद होगा that because there is a chariot which is going on and the chariot wheels are saying creaking again करके chariot में ची 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 आवाज आती रहती है. He says the farmer is going. Then what does he do? Bring some oil and puts on the wheels. So why? So that the creaking stops and he can lie down and sleep properly in that chariot while it is moving. He says similarly should be the attitude towards food. You should eat food so that the body does not creep. Beautiful example given. You eat food so that the body does not get into trouble and creates problems for you, because body is meant for as a tool for our spiritual endeavors. If it is constantly creaking, कभी कहीं दर्द हो रहा है, कभी गैस हो रही है, कभी परेशानी हो रही है, क्यों ज़्यादा खा लिया या तेज़ खा लिया या कम खा लिया, then you will be in trouble. So that's all. Similarly about the clothing you decide. You have a certain responsibility, you should dress properly, appropriately. And dress is meant primarily for, primary purpose from monk's point of view is it should not outrage the modesty of the others. हमको कुछ कपड़ा पहनना चाहिए. जैसे दिगंबर वाले सेक्ट वाले कहते हैं कोई कपड़ा पहनने की जरूरत नहीं because you are unattached. Buddha said no, that's not proper. You should be kind to others. You should not create a condition that others look at us and arouse sensuality and lust and all that, and it will be improper. So in that sense, and so it is meant for. Second idea is protection against weather. You can't use clothing which are not in harmony with the weather. So you have to change clothing according to the weather. You have to change clothing according to the situation, according to the requirement of that situation. That's perfectly fine because you are doing it for a particular functional purpose, not for increasing your ego. Anything which is done to increase ego will be a detriment in our journey towards suffering. Simple criteria would be that.
The craving cannot go merely thinking.
Not thinking. The issue is understanding. We have a very poor idea of understanding. We have somehow got into the picture that unless we observe sensation, nothing will happen. That's not a truth statement.
But observing, unless you introspect yourself,
Yeah. See, if
your mind becomes clear, only then you will stop having craving for other things.
That is right. That's what is meant by samadhi. Right.
It will not happen.
You understand. For example, you understood that after so much effort that milk is not good for you. You've given up. Did you have to observe the sensations while taking milk to do that? You didn't do it. I have been explaining then that gentleman had come with medicine. Arpan's mother also told you, you understood, no, it may help me. It may help me. You're not sure. And you gave up. You gave up milk, curd, everything you have given up. You have become vegan overnight. You don't have to do any sadhana for that purpose.
But शुरू से तुम्हारे अंदर से कुछ चला आ रहा है ना,
क्या चला आ रहा है? कोई आपको बैठ के उसके लिए साधना नहीं करनी पड़ेगी.
नहीं साधना नहीं करनी, but something is going inside.
Yeah, what is that? Understanding is going. Understanding is. You are learning from the experience of others. That gentleman, white दाढ़ी वाला के said, नहीं बहन जी ये जरूर इससे फायदा होगा. He said he looks nice person. You had some confidence in him, just as you have confidence in Buddha. You had confidence in him. You said बंदा ठीक लग रहा है. That's all. And Arpan's mother told you, Arpan told you, I have been telling you. So, but then eventually it clicked. And you changed completely. You've given up everything. Such surprise.
But
you're so much attached to that kind of food. You've totally given it up.
But it always happens suddenly.
So that is what is meant by Upadyanesu bhikkhave dhammesu adinavo punanupassino. You have seen danger. Exactly this is happening. You have seen danger in that kind of food. There is a danger, a very good ja raha hai. Chhod do isko. You didn't need any particular kind of meditation for you to do that. It needed understanding. You just gave up because you saw danger in that. Isn't it? So it's a very valid example. Something which you have been doing for 60 years, you just give it up. And it's not because you don't like it, you like it very much.
You like, but you don't have feeling for that also, no?
Yes, it is basically because of adina, because of the thought that it is dangerous, it is hurting me. This is hurting me, and
that is
on
physical level.
That's an example. That's an example. It's a very important example. If one can give up attachment to taste in such a manner, which is one of the very strong attachments. Why? Because of adina, because of danger. You have seen the danger in that. Now we have not seen the danger in rebirth. That is the trouble with us. We have not seen the danger in rebirth.
It is like part of life.
We all say यार ठीक है चलता है यार थोड़ा सुख दुख तो आते रहते हैं. क्या ये सब फालतू की बातें हैं?
सभी प्राणी ऐसे ही हैं.
So it takes time. That's why we go through a few million births.
लेकिन मुझे लगता है रीबर्थ से ज़्यादा जो हम सिक्योर होते हैं वो प्लानिंग करने में होते हैं. मतलब वो कॉन्शियसनेस नहीं होती कि अच्छा अब ये थॉट आया तो ये नया बर्थ आ रहा है. मतलब विद मेडिटेशन में मैंने चीज़ कई बार ऑब्जर्व की है, लेकिन फिर बाहर निकलते ही लगता है ठीक है.
हाँ चलता रहता वहाँ तक तो ठीक है, आगे नहीं. ज़्यादा सीरियसली मत लो इसको.
कहीं रियलाइज होता है कि अब ये नया ये संस्कार
Good. So I think it's time to stop and then take the others because there are so many of these variants that we from each variant we learn something. So if there are any questions we can take and we'll start. It's already 8:30.
सर उससे पहले जो हम सुत्ता पढ़ रहे थे उससे बाद में 2 क्वेश्चन आए थे. So I thought we'll cover in the last. So the question is from Sudhakar. All these views are basically speculative, not based on direct experience.
Some of them are based on direct experience also, partial experience. If you study that Brahmajala Sutta, Buddha mentions it clearly that many of these views are based on partial experience, meditation experience, especially these Vedanta concepts are based on partial experience. Now, when they say I am not the body, I am not the mind, that is true, that they have experienced. But they say there is I who is there, there is the consciousness which I am. They have not been able to see through that. I am is also an attachment. They are not able to see. So that's how in the Buddha's path also, he talks about the notion of I and only in an arhat. Even an anagami has that lingering notion of I am. So it needs a deep penetration into that nature of existence to be able to see through that. Similarly, duality, the notion of duality, the notion of separation, the notion that by our unwholesome karma will produce unwholesome effect. It is true. But you can't do it in a random manner like that, right? कि मैं अपने बाल खींचना शुरू करता हूँ तो जो दर्द हो रहा है उससे मेरे पाप जा रहे हैं. कौन से पाप जा रहे हैं कुछ मालूम नहीं, कौन सा दर्द है, कौन सा क्या हो रहा है कुछ मालूम नहीं. So, and what is it to be done? You are tolerating, not observing with equanimity. Those subtle differences are not being seen. So the idea that unwholesome karma will produce unwholesome effect is true, but not that you can induce it. Actually, you are doing more unwholesome karma by creating problems for you. So that kind of clarity is not there. So there is a partial vision, partial understanding of karma, partial understanding of based on mixed meditation. So even this concept, ascetic practices, they were based on a limited understanding, and then rest is imagination put together. But then they imagine various kinds of tortures which we can give to body to get out of it. But basically idea ये था कि देखो पाप करने से दुख होता है ना, तो हम पहले ही दुख को खत्म सहन कर लेते हैं, खत्म हो जाएगी पाप. They worked out in the reverse manner. So some of them are of course totally speculative. वो कुत्ते की तरह चलेंगे तो वो वाले संस्कार हट जाएंगे, और ऑल दोज एनिमल, हमारे जो एनिमल डोमेन में जाने के संस्कार है वो तभी हटेंगे जब हम एनिमल की तरह जिएंगे. नो, देयर इज ए सेम्बलेंस ऑफ ए some kind of logic in it, but it is totally gone astray. Logic gone totally astray. लॉजिक का भी लिमिटेशन है. यू कांट सी. आई रिमेंबर वो स्वामी सनातन श्री को इसकी एग्जांपल देते थे लॉजिक की, कि देखो ये कुत्ता है ना, ये मैं इसको कहता हूँ टॉमी कम हियर, वो आ जाता है. तो ही सेड आई विल प्रूव दैट डॉग्स हियर बाय लेग्स. कैसे? तो चलो इस कुत्ते की टांगें बांध दो. टॉमी देखो आ ही नहीं रहा ना, मैंने उसे टांग ही तो बांधे हैं, टांग बांधे वो ही सुन नहीं रहा, इसलिए आ नहीं रहा. तो लॉजिक तो यही कहेगा. अभी तो आपने एक कुत्ते को रखा, उसको उस कमरे में बंद कर दिया, उसको कहा टॉमी, वो आ गया. फिर आपने उस कुत्ते को उधर ले गए, रस्सी से बांध दिया, मैंने कहा टॉमी, वो नहीं आया, इसका मतलब वो सुन नहीं रहा, तभी तो नहीं आ रहा. तो इसका मतलब कुत्ते कान से सुनते हैं. तो इसी तरह से एक्सपेरिमेंट कर देते हैं लोग. derive conclusions wrongly like that. It's a exaggerated way of showing that limited logic can give you confusions. So that's how these theories get involved, and so many of them are mentioned in the Brahmajala Sutta.
Silish had this question that don't we need a view to bring with, and don't we need a view to begin with and then transcend it?
Yeah, certainly.
How does one start with no view on purity, etc.?
You can't start with. You will start with a view. Samadhi is a view. It's right view. But eventually you don't get attached to that also. Buddha mentions it, that example of the rat. And all that teaching is like a rat. You don't get attached to that. Don't carry it along your head all the way. Eventually all views have to be transcended, including the samadhi. but we start with the right way because we are still on the path. We're still learning.
So Sudhakar has this question from the sections which we're reading in the end. So Adineva is the understanding of the consequences.
Adinava's literal translation is danger. Literal translation about Adinava is danger. So seeing danger in sensual gratification. It does not mean that you run away from that, but then there will be aversion. It means seeing that it is dangerous, but मुझे भोजन तो करना पड़ेगा, शरीर के लिए कपड़े पहनने पड़ेंगे, but I should be careful, not get allow that choice to be governed by sensual gratification. Taking aswadan, उसका word दिया ना, पाली में स्वाद, beautiful word, asada. Asada means स्वाद लेना. तो स्वाद आ रहा है वो ठीक है. आप चाय पियेंगे, मीठा है तो मीठा स्वाद आएगा ही. बट आप उसको यू आर एंजॉइंग दैट एंड और आ जाए और आ जाए और आ जाए, क्रिएटिंग क्रेविंग फॉर इट. दैट इज कॉन्सिक्वेंस ऑफ स्वाद. मीन्स ग्रेटिफिकेशन.
That what is the second part. He was commenting that while there is pleasure, Adineva does not come to mind. With a tendency of flowing in that is much more.
So the need for, that's why Buddha says, Sayara, at two levels. First is Sukham va Vedanam Vediyamaham, Sukham Vedanam Vediyami ki Pajana. That is the primary level. If we can feel there is a pleasant feeling and just be with it, that's fine. Then craving will not arise. But if craving arises, then Sairagam va Chittam, Sairagam Chittam ti Pajana. उसमें चित्त में राग जाके उसको जाननी, वहीं पे रोक दो. Don't grasp it now. राग तना से उपादान नहीं होगा, कहीं तो रुकेगा, कम हो जाएगा. So we stop. How do we stop? By being aware. You don't put a physical stop and by apply willpower. When you apply willpower, then you will start suppressing the event and then you are creating aversion towards it. You cannot create aversion towards craving. You can't create aversion towards raga. Then my rag jagra, oh, I should not gratify. I've enjoyed the food, oh my God. Okay, that's all right. Just be aware. So if these things are pleasant, well, no, they're pleasant. Just be aware, they're pleasant. That will not, just being aware of being pleasant will not allow me to take the next step. Mind will not get an opportunity to get to the next step of grasping it.
So Rajendra ji has this question that appreciating some event which gives pleasure at the time of happening, will it create craving in this case? It is just only for that moment.
The appreciating somebody doing good things is a very good quality. We have discussed it, no? Mudita. To rejoice in others' success. This is a beautiful slant which Ajahn Sumedho gave me. To rejoice in others' success is mudita. So if you see, he says, if you see a beautiful flower, you feel happy about it. You don't have to worry, oh, it is impermanent, I should not get attached to it. You rejoice in the goodness of that. So if you rejoice in the goodness of others' performance or activity, it's a good attribute because it reduces your ego. You are able to appreciate others. It's a very good quality. Otherwise, the only other possibility is you become envious. Yes, बहुत अच्छा करते हैं. इसको ऐसा तो कर नहीं सकता था ये. और then you try to find fault. ये इतना अच्छा नहीं है जितना लोगों ने ताली बजाई है. So the mind's workings are very subtle. Appreciating others is a positive attribute. Out of the four Brahma Viharas, we have Nati, Karuna, Mudita, and Pikha, of course, is the ultimate, which balances everything. Because if you appreciate others, you can get carried away in that appreciation. That also has to be balanced within understanding of equanimity. If we practice metta towards others and then we get carried away. If you show compassion towards others, you can again get carried away. We balance them. So all the four qualities balanced give us the consequence of pure mind. And practice of them also makes us mindful.
Does anybody has any more questions for the day? Dakar is saying thanks, sir.
Thank you everybody.
So just to tell you, sir, we had Amit, Arpan, Deepti, Meenakshi, Rajendra ji, Silesh, Sudhakar.
So you tell Arpan bhai, तुम जवाब क्यों नहीं देते हो? Sending you messages, you are not replying.
Arpan, you are still online? He's typing. He's saying, "Haan."
I'm collecting money.
Maybe you wanted to ask him something.
That's okay.
Just to reply to your emails.
Yeah, that's reply to the messages. That's all.
Sarpan, you have to reply to sir's message.
Please be kind.
Sorry, करता हूँ.